Welcome to the Auto Success Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today our guest is Tyler Nathan from TBF Jupiter. Welcome, Tyler.
Hey, welcome, Brian. It's good to see you.
Yeah, great to have you back in the studio again.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so I kind of want to dive right in. Let's talk about cash flow. What is the effect on cash flow for a dealership if ROs aren't processed, quickly?
Well, many times dealers call us and they're in trouble, and it affects their cash flow a lot, especially if they're slow in processing the claims. It can affect technicians' payroll. Of course, in every business, cash flow is king when you're paying for your inventory, and now you've got money that's tied up in warranty. We're able to free that money up and get them paid.
Well, now you help dealerships with that, and talk to me a little bit about what are the advantages, disadvantages of using a partner like you to handle the warranty processing?
Well, many times in a dealership that the warranty administrator becomes kind of a nanny, if you will, and they run around the dealership and they have to correct items that are wrong on the tickets. They spend a lot of time doing that. In our system, we set it up to where we help encourage the ROs to be written up properly from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So we do come out and spend time with the dealership, training them to help them get over that process when they're switching from somebody who's been running around, taking care of all that stuff. And this, what it does is most of those things that are missed on the front end create more troubles later. And even if you have a great warranty admin, sometimes items that were mistakes, if you will, in the write-up or with the technicians cannot be corrected. And so that's why our program's better, because it helps your team generate proper tickets. So, and we work directly with advisors and keep management in the loop. So it works very well.
So when you say some of the things can't be corrected, I mean, does that mean that you're doing work and you can't get reimbursed for it, or you're not getting reimbursed as much as you should?
Yeah, that's correct. So for instance, let's say that a technician is clocking electronically in the DMS, and they failed to clock. Maybe they did some specific special items that we could get them paid for, but they did not clock for it. If the advisor's not paying any attention to warranty because it's somebody else's responsibilities, and that's what normally happens in an in-house situation, and the admin finds it later after the customer has left, there's no way to correct that time. There's no way to correct that situation. Or if possibly a part was charged out in the wrong section, things sometimes can cause or prior approvals. And so with us, when we're going directly to the advisor, teaching the advisors to look over these ROs, make sure that the story is complete, make sure parts are charged out in the right section, make sure the tech didn't fail to write a story or fail to clock. Those items can be corrected. Mistakes can be brought to management before the vehicle has left, and so many things can be averted.
Wow. So not only does it eliminate headaches, but it also has a direct impact on the amount of money you're getting reimbursed for that work that you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. You definitely, a lot of times, and that's one of the things that, like I said, that we really help install in dealership is the proper management. You don't want, I know everybody says, and I agree with them 100%, that the advisors are the salesmen of the service department. Mm-hmm. You want them selling. But here's the thing, even on the front end, you've got salespeople there selling cars. They have to be able to put those deals together properly. They have to study what trim levels are on those vehicles in order to sell them properly. Advisors are no different. They have to understand warranty. They need to know what's covered and what's not covered. So we spend a good amount of time with them, having them, and then by us going directly to that advisor when there's an issue and bringing it to management's attention, the advisors learn from that. And because if we ask them for a battery code 2-3 times, pretty soon when they're writing up a battery claim, they're going to look for that battery code, make sure the tech put it in their story so that we can process the claim quickly.
Nice. Well, and I imagine that that by doing it properly and getting a larger reimbursement and getting all the right time and getting all the right parts, it's probably benefiting not just the dealership financially, but the technician is probably going to get paid for things that maybe he wasn't getting paid for before, and that service advisor as well, right? It's in everybody's best interest.
when we're doing the training, we also meet with the technicians when we're setting up a brand new account, and we'll spend an hour. Generally, the dealership will get pizza or something for them, and we'll talk to them, through the noon hour. And we've got handouts that are specific to each make. So we'll set the technicians down, and we talk to them, and we tell them about things like if they're doing a wire repair, how to write that up properly, because there's going to be no labor operation that exists with any of the OEMs to specifically handle something like that. And so there's things that are considered standard time that the technician, like checking technical service bulletins, doing a visual inspection, making sure that they verified the repair. So that stuff should be punched first and separately for a short amount of time. And then once they've determined that they have to go into something that's going to be abnormal time, like let's say tracing a wire or something like that, then what they're going to do is they're going to punch off, punch back on. And some of the DMSs, you have specific ways to flag those punches too, so we kind of go over that. But they'll punch back on, and then they'll do that wire tracing. Then they'll punch off when they find the problem, fix the repair, so that'll be a separate punch. And then they'll also do a final punch to reassemble the vehicle, because all of that time where they were tracing the wire and then reassembling, we can get paid usually as straight time, depending on the OEM's rules and so forth, but in most cases.
Well, yeah, I mean, then everybody wins in that scenario, because nobody likes to work for free.
That's right. There's a lot.
Well, that's actually a great segue to my next question. Yeah, because I know you don't work for free either. How does your service work? So if a dealership says, boy, I want to get paid, more for my warranties, how does the pricing work for something like that?
Well, we've been doing this for a long time now, like 36 years, and with warranty, the devil's in the details. And so back in the old days, we used to just do it like a flat percentage. But the problem with that is, as everybody's looking at right now, nobody knows which way the market's going to go. Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? Everybody kind of has their finger in the air, just trying to figure out which way the wind's blowing. And so with us, it really doesn't matter, because our pricing, we use chart pricing. And why we do that is that it adjusts based on the market. So all of a sudden, let's say you're in a growing market and you're adding more and more technicians, and your shop is growing, automatically you're going to get continued discounting built into our pricing, because as you escalate up the chart, sure, you're going to pay us more for doing more work for you, but the rate is decreasing. So instead of paying overtime or having warranties fall behind because you have a fixed solution like an in-house person, now our system is going to actually give you a better and better rate. And likewise, if your market's slowing down, you're going to pay us less. Sure, the rate slightly is increasing to cover so that we don't have to come and ask you for a raise, but it's always the right size. That's the way that the chart pricing is. And so it's going to be effective if you're a huge dealership or a very small dealership. And once we get it set up, it runs for many. Our goal is long-term partnership.
Gotcha. Let's go back to the RO. I mean, if a dealership's doing everything right, who should be flagging warranty on the RO?
Yeah, so this is a huge. I come into a lot of dealerships, and there's a huge amount of money here for many dealerships, and it's because in an in-house system, it's a finite system, right? It's all dependent on the warranty admin who's going to flag the warranty time in most cases, right? And that is the best way to do it if you're in-house, right? If you have an in-house person, your most cost-effective way is to have that warranty admin flag the time. But that's not what happens, and here's why. There can be turnover in that position, or let's say that the person just takes a week vacation. Then everybody's like, well, how are the techs going to get paid, right? So the techs are all paid flat rate, and somebody has to book those ROs. And so what happens quickly is when they have problems with having that admin being available at crucial times, like when payrolls due, it quickly, they come up with the idea of, let's have the advisors do it, okay? That sounds good, because advisors are already booking customer pay and internal, which is much, much easier. And so it starts off that way, but what quickly happens is the technicians don't trust some of the advisors, right? And also the advisors themselves are vary in their abilities. And so what'll happen is quickly the technicians will assume looking at the labor operations, and maybe even the dealership supports that. But the problem is when you have your technicians looking up labor operations, I guarantee you it's slowing them down a minimum of 24 minutes a day, okay, for warranty labor ops. And I've talked to technicians all over the country, and I'll say, how long does it take you to look up warranty labor ops every day if you were to average it? And it's at least 24 minutes a day. It depends on the make. Sometimes it's worse than that. And when you multiply that out per tech, that's 2 hours lost in productivity per tech per week. Now put a number to that. If you have 10 techs in your shop, it's probably $170,000, $180,000 a year in lost sales.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's a very expensive solution to flag those times. So the good thing with us is that you get, we have people that are skilled, and when they're on vacation, we have somebody else who fills in who's just as skilled, right? So they'll do an introduction. They'll say, hey, I'm going to be gone for next week, and so is going to cover our work. And that person will call, introduce themselves, and it just happens like clockwork. The work gets done.
So you just have zero downtime.
Exactly. We also pay attention to when the dealership's payroll is due. So if we know that their payroll is due every Wednesday at they close at 6 p.m., then we're going to make a final pass through their DMS at 6 p.m. Make sure everything's flagged for them.
Yeah, I mean, payroll's pretty important. You definitely don't want to miss payroll. It probably looks a lot like, you remember the old Frankenstein movie where all the people with their pitchforks and their fire. Technician and techs are so key nowadays. Everybody needs techs, and so and that's one of the things techs and like they shouldn't tolerate is troubles with their pay. Absolutely. Well, I mean, and it sounds like, I mean, you bring up the need to keep your techs and find techs. If you're finding ways to pay them more money on the work that they're already doing, that probably makes for a lot happier technician.
Absolutely. We're big believers in being as efficient as possible with your technicians. That's going to make your techs happier. They're going to make more money. And they have, many of them get more confident. And that's another reason why we talk to the techs, is they see that we're the real deal. We're here to, we're just like a CPA that represents the dealer. You wouldn't ever want to totally automate your finances. And the same goes here. We have skilled warranty administrators who are specialized in that make, and it's their career, they're career minded. I mean, they've been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years before we even hire them. Mm-hmm. Then we vet them, make sure they're as good as their resume, and also teach them the way that we do things. And it works out great.
You did bring up a little bit of the uncertainty that we have right now in the economy. And, people tend to not like to make decisions when they're uncertain about things. Is now a good time for a dealership to consider, outsourcing their warranty?
Absolutely. Yeah, it does. I've always I've been in the business now for almost 30 years. This November it'll be 30 years, and in that time I've gone through many times, and I've seen that our business does great in a great economy. It does very good in a slow economy because dealerships are looking to save costs, and we are a cost savings for them. And but it also, but in these times where there's indecision, maybe it's an election year or something like that, or there's indecision, sometimes there's a hesitancy on the dealer's part. And that can be because they're just trying to determine, again, which way the wind's going to blow. Yeah. But that's the nice thing about our program, is no matter what is going to happen, if it goes up, if it goes down, what's changing the market, you're always going to pay the right amount with our service. It's going to adjust as it goes, and it's always going to support your team. And the best part is it really frees up your service management so that they can focus on more important things. If you really boil down a dealership's business and you say, what does a dealership have to do to be successful? It's sell cars and service customers so that they keep coming back to buy more cars, right? And also to buy more service and parts. And so I say service the customer, because you may have fixed the vehicle perfectly, but if that customer is not fixed, in other words, if that customer doesn't feel that they received value there at the dealership, they might never be back. And so if a dealership really focuses in those areas, now notice I didn't say anything about warranty administration, because if you take care of those things, warranty is a secondary reactive income source. So in other words, you're going to have plenty of warranty work.
Yeah.
But with it comes, a lot of time wasters. Studying. There's a lot of administration. It ties up service management. And so we really kind of free management up. Take that, if you will, it's almost like taking a tax of time off of service so that they can focus on those. And so the best thing is in a changing economy, if it's going which way it's going, it allows the dealership to react much quicker because they're not sitting there worrying about what are we doing with our warranty claims. We better hire somebody, or we've got to lay somebody off or something, or cut their hours back, that sort of thing.
Let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Like as far as the day-to-day goes, if a dealership has been doing it with on their own, and then they decide to have somebody like you do it for them, like what are they going to notice right off the bat day to day? Like how are things going to be different?
Yeah, so we're a daily process, so we're going to get into their system and process claims daily. Now we're not in there all day long. We're going to get in, get our work done, come back tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And so we do that, and then we're going to hit their deadlines. And up front, the big change, again, like I said, we're going to come out to the dealership. We're really going to help them install a process where it encourages knowledge with their advisors and their techs. Because we're going to be going right to the source, asking them for information. So when we get an incomplete claim, for instance, we're not going to throw that on the service manager. Some shops set it up that way, but the problem is then the service manager is spending a bunch of time giving us information, and their team doesn't necessarily get better. And so we're really about a long-term relationship, and we want to relieve as much of the pressure of warranty off of their whole entire team. So. But yeah, they're going to see a daily process, and they're going to see that their schedule's staying clean. Their open RO list, we grab the tickets right out of the DMS. There's ways that they can, depends on the DMS. Some of them flag them a color. Sometimes, like in Reynolds' case, we just grab them based on like a report that we run for open ROs once customer pay has been closed, things like that.
Well, I want to shift gears. No conversation in today's world can be complete without talking about AI. And AI is affecting every aspect of our lives. As far as warranty goes in the service department, what do you see AI doing now, and what do you see is coming for us in the future with AI?
Well, I'm no expert on AI, just to get that out of the way. But first off, from what I understand, there's this general AI intelligence is what most people think of as AI, where the computer is thinking like a human. Okay, that is definitely not in our space at all. So there's some companies are trying to automate the process as much as possible. By automating, it's like, if you will, it's kind of like a template of circumstances. So if this circumstance exists, this part is used, this story mentions this, then we'll do this. But the problem is, remember that we're much like a CPA. You would never consider, turning your entire business accounting over to an automated system. I mean, that would be, there's recipe for disaster there. And the same goes here with warranty. This is possibly 30 to 60%. It is somewhere between there, 30 to 60, maybe even 70% for some dealerships of their service department's income. It's a huge number. It adds up to a lot of money for dealerships, and it can make or break dealerships on how much on their warranty that's being collected. If you automate that, and let's say there's a change in a recall, and recalls change all the time, labor ops change all the time, technical service bulletins change all the time. We'll hire sometimes an admin. We avoid that in most cases, hiring an admin that, let's say, has been out of the field for a year or two, right? Because just in a year or two, there's so many changes, and it is really important to stay up to speed on the most latest and the recent changes. And that's that's what you get with us, is you're getting a skilled, certified warranty admin it's just like a CPA. You want that person who's there thinking, thinking about how's this going to affect the trend report. Could this get the dealership audited? Where are these? The story needs to be a little better. That sort of thing, in order for it to stand up for, and AI in our field is nowhere close to that. Maybe someday. Yeah. Yeah. They keep saying that it's going to get to that, but in the current way that AI is a very big buzzword right now. You can't go to almost anything that's dealer related without hearing about it and how wonderful it's going to be. And it is wonderful. I mean, I used it to Google my way to your to here. So. It helps us in a lot of ways, but.
Yeah. Well, AI, you have to feed it lots of data and give it lots of reps to learn. It's almost like working out. You got to do a lot of curls to build a bicep. AI has to learn. And I guess if I was a dealer, I'd be a little bit afraid of letting AI learn with my money.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So, maybe 15, 20 years down the road, maybe it'll be able to do it. So we'll see. But
great. Well, I really appreciate you coming in. Is there anything more you'd like to share with our audience today, Tyler?
Just it's always if you're interested in doing this, or you're wondering if you're collecting all the money that's possible out there, we can do a mock audit for you, so we can actually review ROs. That we do that based on availability, but we'll look at whether or not you're collecting everything you should be, and we can also let you know if you're if you're in danger should you be audited. Those are some things that we could do for you. Also, it's a good time to just consider it. Find out what it's going to be. Talk to us when you're not in an emergency situation. I love. We normally can help dealers out in emergency situations too, but once in a while, because with us you're going to get a skilled warranty admin. So let's say that you're the particular make that you have. We've brought in a bunch of it recently, right? Or and we're already running overtime in that area. Well, we'll never take somebody from a different car line and say, hey, figure these, whatever it is out, right? We're not going to do that. You're going to get a skilled admin in the line that you need. And so we'll turn work away. And sometimes we've had to turn work away from some of the biggest groups. And it pains us to do that. But, and that's why don't look at us as a solution for an emergency. Instead, look at it as a business proposition to give you consistency with your warranty and take that off of your service department so they can react to whatever's going on in the market and so forth. It's a much better plan. It works so much better for our clients. You just have to apply it right, and that's what we help you do.
Great. Well, thank you for coming in today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to join us for this Auto Success Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today our guest has been Tyler Nathan from TBF Jupiter. We hope to see you again on a future episode. This one's Over the Curb and Burning Gas.